A lot of people like myself had no idea that respite existed. When you're involved physically and emotionally, it's very taxing. If I didn't get to leave this house, I would be nuts.
61-year-old Debbie McLennan cares full-time for her 95-year-old mother, Marie. Debbie is an only child. Her father is deceased, her husband works out of state, and her cousins are all in their 70s and live hours away.
Any birds out there today?
I am her 24/7 caregiver. It's a very, very tough journey, very overwhelming.
Marie suffers from Alzheimer's and dementia. Debbie says her mother has been able to do absolutely nothing for herself for the last 4 years.
You get to a point where you don't know if you can do it anymore. I'm committed to this, I'm in for the long haul, so you just have to resign to the fact that you want to do this, because you're not quite ready to give them up, because you know the only thing that's keeping her alive is the care she's getting here. Nobody can give her better care than me. I don't leave her lying in the bed all day. I get her up 3 times a day, 2 hours each time. I sit back there with her, I talk to her. I don't put her in bed early at night, even though that would be great to give me time to read and relax. I never go to bed without making sure she's asleep first. So it's demanding.
Debbie does get some respite from a hospice volunteer who comes once a week for 2 hours.
The only thing is she can't give her water, she can't turn her in bed, she can't lift her pillow, she can do nothing. Absolutely nothing but look at her. So that's not like you get too much of a break, because you know you got to get back pretty quickly in case she has to go to the bathroom.
Debbie does qualify for respite care through a voucher program. She says she receives $500 to $600 every 6 months for respite services. Debbie says with many agencies charging $15 an hour and mandating a minimum time allotment, her vouchers don't last long, but they have been a lifesaver.
It's so wonderful just to know that if you need 4 hours of going to Books A Million and sitting, you can just get out of the house.
Debbie saves most of her vouchers for the rare weekends when her husband is home from business, which means a lot of the time she's home with her mom.
I guess I'm a little bit of a perfectionist and I want everything okay. I want her hair looking good. I want her nails done. I just want everything to be good for her because she was a great mother to me.
It's a caregiving journey she's committed to, though she admits it's one she wishes more people would support her on.
I think unless you've been through this, you don't know how hard it is. So I think a lot of times it's people who have been in your shoes that will be the ones to step up. The ones that haven't, gosh, just sitting with them and not getting them up or changing a diaper, it can mean everything to somebody who's living this life of caregiving.
An estimated 850,000 Alabamians are currently caring for a loved one at home. These family members have a disability or a chronic or terminal illness and require constant day-to-day care. While many families do take great pride and joy in caring for their loved one, the physical, emotional, and financial consequences can be overwhelming without support and relief. One way caregivers can get relief is through respite. Respite is a temporary emotional break from providing care. When utilized regularly, respite can often strengthen a caregiver's health, marriage, and family, reduce the incidences of abuse and neglect to those being cared for, and provide an economic boost to the state. It's estimated that Alabama's caregivers provide 783 million hours of unpaid care at home.
Caregivers provide billions and billions of dollars of time taking care of all the way from children to older adults. And it's a full-time job, and they need a break. It costs so much money for someone to be in a nursing home or a mental health home compared to living in their own home in the community, sometimes it's 3 and 4 times as much money. And those funds come out of the state general fund budget and the federal budget. With the growing numbers of people, we'll never have enough money. We are dependent on caregivers to take care of their loved ones.
In Alabama, respite can be provided in a variety of ways, including in a family's home, in a relative's home, in a community setting, in a daycare center, or through a faith-based respite program. Some caregivers qualify to receive quarterly monetary vouchers for respite through the Alabama Lifespan Respite Network.
With the voucher respite, it's more of a consumer or person-centered approach because the family can pick whoever they want to provide that respite.
Funding for the vouchers is provided through small grants, nonprofit organizations, and donations. The program is beneficial to caregivers who can use it, but it still falls short of providing respite to all of those in need.
The need to provide a break for those people is not recognized, and a lot more work needs to be done in that area, not only with funding coming from private, nonprofit, and government resources, but for the community at large to recognize that respite is a community service that you can provide through your churches. It's a service that you can provide neighbor to neighbor, family to family, carpool to carpool, and that oftentimes when people have even a family member or a neighbor, that someone at church, and they think, I just don't see how you do that. When you think that, you should think, I don't see how you do that, how can I help? Because people don't realize that just by saying, can I come to your house on Saturday so you go get your nails done and I'll stay at your house for 2 hours? Or can I stay at your house and you carpool all of the kids to the ballpark because you don't normally get to see your other child play ball? You know, there's things that if we just think about it, that we can all do to help someone that we know is caring for someone. And it's that's the greatest need. It's not money. It's that good old-fashioned service to the people you care about.
He was born as our first son, and we thought everything was completely perfect. He got 9s and 10s on his APGAR scores. 3 weeks in, we just began noticing that he wasn't focusing, he wasn't noticing mobiles, he wouldn't look at our face. So at 6 months, we got a final diagnosis that they thought he had cerebral palsy. And so we had extensive testing done at that point in the hospital, and they confirmed that diagnosis and gave us answers that he had had an infection in the womb, and that it had done some overall damage to his brain, and that he would have severe disabilities ongoing, and they couldn't really tell us, how long he would live.
We took turns with him at home and doing shifts and different things, and every now and then we would have different ones come in, but it was just like, okay, we didn't, and for our county, there just wasn't a whole lot available, and where we could get some help through the Medicaid waivers and different things, you always had a different social worker, and some that would come, not a social worker, but a person that would come out that was brought on by the social worker. And sometimes they were always different, or they couldn't be regular, or you had to stay with them. It was because they couldn't do certain things legally because of medical stuff. I miss him terribly. But, there was so much care that was a burden.
It was very difficult. It was a joy, though, if that makes sense. I mean, it was 24/7 care, as he said, for Aaron, but it was such a joy.
He went through a lot, but he had great purpose and mission, and you know, of course, God never wastes a life. Here he's gone, but he's still, you know, his legacy is still impacting many people.
Aaron's Staff is a respite care program for parents and children with special needs in their families. We provide a time for them to come and drop their children off with us or adults. We also take older, younger adults, I guess. And we provide art therapy, we provide music therapy, recreation, pet therapy, story time. We feed the children, which is a part of their time with us, and while the parents can go do whatever they want to do.
The first time that we left the kids with Aaron's Staff, I remember I felt like I was going to just float out of my chair because I finally got to leave my burdens behind with people that I knew could handle it. I have 2 children, an 8-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy. Our daughter, she's typically developing in that she cognitively is on track. Socially, she struggles getting along with her peers and stuff because she doesn't read social cues very well, and she's very hyperactive and ADD, and so that causes her some problems in school, and also it causes problems socially because other children get annoyed with it and she doesn't pick up on it. And our son, he's more affected by the Fragile X syndrome than what our daughter is, in that he is cognitively, he's about 3-4 years old. He still cannot, he's still in diapers, he still can't change his own clothes. He has a speech of about a 2.5, 3-year-old. It's constantly having to remind them what it is that go get your shoes on, and then you have to follow that up with at least 3 or 4 more times telling them to get, you know, our daughter to go get her shoes on because the ADD, she's distracted, constantly distracted. Our son, he can't dress himself, and so it's constantly trying to keep tabs on her while also trying to get him dressed for the day and going, get them fed, get them on their bus to school, and then you get a break, except during the summer. And then when they get home, my daughter is struggling with math, and so I have to try and work with her on math along with dealing with her ADHD, and also though trying to potty train our son and keep him occupied, keep him from tearing the house to pieces, because a lot of times he gets off the bus overstimulated from school, and his way to deal with that is to go in his room and start dumping all of his toys into a big pile and then just starts throwing. So there's those two, trying to juggle both of those at the same time as getting dinner on the table and you know, the regular things of life. You need a break every single day, and you get somewhat of a relief when you put them to bed at night, assuming that they're going to stay in bed that night, because there are nights where every hour you're up. We don't have any family here in Alabama, and so prior to Aaron's Staff, my husband and I never got to go on dates at all, because where do you find a child caregiver that is affordable that you can trust will be able to handle your children when they're at their worst? Now, when they're at their best, yeah, okay, it's easy, but you never know that it could turn on a dime. It's not something that my children are going to recover from. This is the rest of their lives, and that therefore it's the rest of my life.
We didn't really ever get to do what we wanted to do while he was here.
She had had a dream for years, and of course I was in on that dream as far as trying to provide something for respite that we didn't really have available to us. Marriages are being saved, hope is being given, counseling is being given, you know, it's just, you know, we're doing more than just giving them a break. We want to try to minister to the whole person, the whole family. And of course there's a lot more we can do with that yet that we hope to do with that. But it's just, the picture's so much bigger than just giving a break, even though we're all about that.
It's definitely the dream. We're being able to see parents get a break, which a lot of times we weren't able to get. And it's awesome because a lot of these parents don't have family nearby or people that they feel comfortable leaving their loved ones with, and we're actually seeing a bond that's being made of trust, because we do care and we're here and we're not leaving, you know, and so it's definitely coming to fruition, and I just want to see it even come to fruition more, because there's such a need and there's so many people out there that are drowning in silence.